start of the dramatic walk-in, and yo, how's it going, kids? I don't really think I was going to do one of these. I don't really do, like, top favorite films of the years and whatever, because there's always that, like, thing of, oh, you have to kind of watch every single film that's come out of the year, but that's, like, basically impossible. So I just, like most people, just say what the ones that they like the most, and, you know, given I'm in Australia, and in Victoria in particular, and we all know how many fucking lockdowns we've had in Victoria, I've had to start partying again. Not great, but it can be sufficient. To the point of the films I did pirate for 2021, I did end up buying in physical media, which is good. It's a good start, mostly because, constant lockdowns, I can't exactly be watching all these fucking movies all the time. At the same time, 3-day work week, trying to actually have a life. Not always so easy to watch movies in theaters, so most of these, surprisingly, I watched at the end of the year. Actually, probably not. I'll have to check. I've got a Letterboxd, so if you follow me on Letterboxd, which I know some of you do, then it is what it is. You'll know from the list. I have a 2021 list. I watched 35 films this year, which was disappointing, because there's like a lot of like indie films, especially like Red Rocket and shit like that I really, really want to watch and don't come out. Well, I think they've just, like, there's also the new Wes Anderson one and shit, like, and they didn't come out till like New Year's Day in Australia, and Omicron has been a bit of a bitch, and I've been in isolation for the past week because I was a close contact. So I haven't been able to go outside yet. I was going to watch The Worst Person in the World last week, and I couldn't watch that because of ISO. So, hence hoping to watch like Red Rocket and shit like that. So more than likely, if I happen to, watch those before the end of the month, I'll add them to this clip if they're relevant. If not, it is what it is. But for now, this is in the year of 2021, all the films that I watched that I actually liked. I guess I might do a least favorite videos. Actually, I might just have it in one video, let's be honest. Because I only had 35 films. So, honorable bad films that I didn't like. Free Guy, I didn't like. Willy's Wonderland, I didn't like. I get the appeal, look, it's Nick Cage. And I like a lot of those Nick Cage movies. But this was just really, it's just the same thing, rinse and repeat. Like, for the whole movie, it wasn't very interesting. So, Black Widow, pretty bad. Halloween Kills, pretty bad. Unfortunately, I really wanted to like it, but I was in agreement with most people. It was just not good. They were the top 4 that I really didn't like that much, and that arguably I regret watching. Because then it goes into like Fear Street 1978, which I actually liked. It wasn't a bad movie. Like, the rest of these were not terrible movies. They were bearable. They were watchable. And that's, like, pretty much until number 22, I'd say. So, you got Fear Street 1978. You got The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. These are all fine films. Army of the Dead, it was fine. Eternals, it was boring, but it was fine. And it was at least trying to be a movie. Unlike, surprisingly, you've got the Jungle Cruise one, which we just watched as a group watch on Disney+, so I didn't really care. It was also fine. Sure, I do love those adventure movies, but mostly if they're practical. I'm sorry, I don't need a CGI rainforest to make me feel emotions, as well as The Rock who turns into a rock. Anyway, next up I got Spider-Man No Way Home. This one's a very jumpy one for me. I really liked it the first time, because nostalgia, and then I watched it like 2 weeks later with other friends, and I kind of fucking despised it, so that's where I'm at with that movie. I'm really tanking Marvel movies these days. I'm not really enjoying them. There's one that I really like this year. That's about it. And that includes the TV shows, which, to be fair, I enjoyed watching Loki until you got to the last episode and realized the whole show's pointless, but I did like WandaVision. The rest of them were crap. What were the rest of them? Hawkeye was boring. Falcon Winter Soldier was boring. What was the other one? I feel like there's another one. Who really cares? Next up, Mortal Kombat. It's just fun, but, also not amazing. Quiet Place Part 2. This is a really bad ranking. Let's be honest, A Quiet Place Part 2 is probably worse than Mortal Kombat, but at least it's more, artistically created. It just feels like a bad episode of The Walking Dead. Then I watched House of Gucci. That was boring. It's like, what if we got a really good cast and a really good director, and the script was kind of a mess and should have been a mini-series, and the director shouldn't have directed it, and it should have been someone else directing this film. Ridley Scott should not have directed this film. Yeah, it was really boring. It was fine. I didn't fall asleep, luckily. I wanted to. It's a long fucking movie. So many 2.5 hour movies came out last year. No wonder why everybody wants 90-minute movies back. Anyway, it's fine. Many Saints of Newark, because I binge watched the whole of Sopranos and I'd never seen it before, and it was fucking beautiful. And this film was only fine. It was like trying to be a season of the Sopranos in one film, whilst also trying to be a film, and it didn't really work in both areas. But it was alright. It had some comically bad performances, but some really fucking good performances as well. So the guy who played Tony Sopranos, Michael Gandolfini was pretty good. Junior, right. So Corey Stoll, who played Junior, was fucking beautiful. Fucking great actor. Like, he felt like Junior. It was so good. But yeah. Then I had the Suicide Squad, which this is more of the area where with House of Newark with Many Saints of Newark onwards, where I'm like, I actually think this is worth watching. So you got the Suicide Squad, which I thought was pretty good. I had the pirate that, but then I got the 4K Steelbook, which is like here. I've rearranged. I couldn't remember where I put it. Then you got Fear Street 1994. I thought it was pretty fun. I binge watched that with, I think, all three. I think I binge watched them all in one night. And so the last one, Fear Street 1666, I think is the best of the three. I think it captured like the great, like the first half of it is really nice. I love the period piece stuff, but the second half, I love how it like goes full monster outing with the 80s stuff. It's great. Good stuff. Then you got Shang-Chi. I really like Shang-Chi. I don't know if I'll rewatch it anytime soon. If I do, it'll be on Disney+. I thought it was really fun. I liked the kung fu. I liked the characters. I like the kung fu. I like the martial arts. I feel like that's a racial stereotype to say it's kung fu. I don't think that was kung fu, but nevertheless, I really liked the martial arts. I liked how they filmed a lot of the sequences, especially, the action sequences. But I liked the characters as well. I liked the dynamic between the two leads. It was, like, my brother didn't like Aquafina, but I did, so I liked her and Simu Yu, and yeah, good cast, pretty fun. Sure, the last act is a bit bombastic, but hey, I'm also big on kaijus, so, it kind of worked for me. Then you had Luca, which, shockingly forgettable, but perfectly fine movie. Mitchell's vs. the Machines, which I feel like I should put more up, but I just didn't love it as much as everyone else did, but then the rest of the films I'm comparing here, I liked a lot more. I thought it was really good, probably the best animated film of the year, easily. Then you got Zack Snyder's Justice League. Watched that on binge, for free, which was great, because you had a 2-week free trial or whatever. And then I got the 4K. Really good film. Because I've seen that original Justice League movie, that one that Joss Whedon did. Terrible film. And I really like this, and I've been rewatching a lot of Zack Snyder's films. It's like, I like his stuff. I mean, I always did like his stuff, but you go through your phase of liking them because you're a teenage boy, hating them because you're an adult, and being like, these fucking movies for teenage boys, they're all fucking dumb, and then like liking them because you're a film student. You're like, hey, this guy actually knows what he's fucking doing, kind of. It's like Michael Bay in a way, to an equivalency. But good film. So this is where I'd say from Mitchell's onwards, it's like these are like top tier films worth watching for the year. So that was number 15 with Justice League. Number 14, F9. Fucking love this shit, dude. I love these F9. I fucking love these Fast and Furious films. I don't know why. I started watching them the past few years. I fucking love them. Then I had the Last Duel. Really like this one as well. I know a lot of people didn't. And I say a lot, I mean a few people, because no one watched it, apparently. Me and my dad really liked it. I saw the cast and the poster and the director, and I'm like, Dad'll love this. We got to go watch it. And it was a good film. I enjoyed it. Then there's Bo Burnham's Inside. Fucking spectacular. I was really late in the game to watching this, so everyone was already listening to music. I'd already heard a few things and seen a few clips. And then I just decided one day to just watch it, and I was like enthralled. I loved it. I know it's technically not a movie; it's a special, but at the same time, I dug it. It was pretty fun. Then number 11, we're on to Last Night in Soho, which I feel like I'd love it a lot more on rewatch, but I'm really big into what do you call it? I mean, I love Edgar Wright films, so obviously I'm going to compare it to the rest of his films. It's not the worst he did. I'd say it's probably fourth best of my own personal ranking behind. Well, my personal ranking is like Shaun of the Dead, Scott Pilgrim, Hot Fuzz, and then this. But in terms of as a film, I'd probably say it's probably goes Hot Fuzz, maybe Shaun of the Dead, Scott Pilgrim, then this. Maybe this is better than Scott Pilgrim as a film. I don't know, but I really love giallo horror, which is what this film was going for. And I've seen a lot of better attempts that this film was going for, but it was still really fucking well done. It's like, what if you made a giallo film with a really fucking good budget? And a director who can just do whatever the fuck he does with the editing. My god, this movie. So, pretty good. I've liked it a lot more. I'm thinking about it. Can't wait for the 4K so I can rewatch that bitch. Yeah. To be fair, the only film of his I don't like that much is Baby Driver. But that's just because the story's dull. But gotta love those music and stuff. It's really well edited. Then in number 10, which I feel like Last Night in Soho should be here, but honestly, I just really, really enjoyed this to like kick off the year for me, was Nobody, which I gave 4 stars. I really liked it. I've rewatched 4 of these films. 5. I've rewatched 5 of these films in my top 10. So Nobody I'd like to rewatch, but I just got the Blu-ray, so I can watch it whenever. But I love John Wick. I love Bob Odenkirk. Mixing the two, pretty fucking bangers. My mate didn't realize it was a comedy when we were watching it, and it got to the point where I was just laughing. He's like, "Why are you laughing?" Like, because it's meant to be taking the piss. And he's like, "Oh fuck," because he hadn't watched any of the trailers or didn't really just know. So yeah, I think he'd watched the trailer that was like too serious, but still. Number 9, the film that made me throw up, Titane. I gave it 3.5. I'm still very up in the air about my rating. Personally, it's probably a 4 to a 4.5 star film. I love the director's previous film, Raw, one of my favorite French horror films. That's what I should suggest to my friend who hasn't watched foreign horror films. That's a good one. But Titane, fucking intense movie. Like, I had low blood pressure whilst I watched the movie. Bad idea. Wasn't intentional, so I got really sick and I threw up, and then I came back and watched the rest of the movie. It was during a really fucked up part of the movie, but I missed this whole entire scene where she goes in the garage and kills a bunch of people. But I'm totally down to watching it again. It's fucked up, but I love it more and more when I think about it. So it's bloody interesting. And that was like the last like original film I think I watched. That was the second last original film I watched, because for last year, because I watched it on the 29th of November, and the next original film I watched was like the 29th of December. No, the 30th of December. There's 31 days in December, so yeah. Number 8 is June. I've watched this twice now, in Extreme Screen and in IMAX. I'm still not as blown away as a lot of people are. I gave it 4 stars. I think it's pretty good. I've obviously seen the David Lynch one. I'm reading the book very, 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 very slowly, but I've got the first 3, so that's good enough for me. I liked it, at least. I did think it's a bit tiresome. I don't know. Fucking these 2.5 hour movies are kicking me in the groin. I'm getting really tired. I think I've just had a really tired phase during December. I was really mentally exhausted. So I was doing 2.5 hour long movies. Are you fucking kidding me? So personally, I do think it's a really fucking good film. It deserves the praise. I'm keen for a sequel. I'll leave it at that. Number 7. This was pretty high on my list for a long fucking time. Again, 4 stars. Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Best rom-com I've seen in years. Fucking banger. It's a slapping fucking 90-minute film. Piece of piss to watch, so much so I watched it twice. Totally worth it. Honestly, if you didn't like the first one, who fucking cares? This one's better. Honestly, I think the first one's fine. It's got some good stuff in for 20 minutes when he's Venom and when he's eating lobsters in a fish tank. Outside of that, pretty bland. I mean, there's a good horror sequence in it, but outside of that, it's pretty bland. But the sequel, fuck yeah, this movie fucking rips. Totally recommend it. Next up, we've got Oh, these are just all fucking beautiful movies. Number 6, Godzilla vs Kong. Fuck yeah. I've watched it 3 times now. I think I can definitely say I've watched it twice. I've watched it once in theater, and then I watched it on 4K. And fucking hell, is this movie good? I mean, look, yeah, sure, the human stuff's boring as shit. It always is. But, I mean, I do like the stuff with the little girl, at least. Basically, anything that isn't Millie Bobby Brown, really good. And if you cut her out of this movie, it would probably be a 5-star film for me, because she is just worthless. The only thing that is good about her scenes is when it leads to Mechagodzilla, and I didn't need that. I didn't need, not like I needed Mechagodzilla, but I didn't need her scenes leading to Mechagodzilla. Totally irrelevant and unnecessary. But, you know, gotta rake in the teenage big bucks, so, because kids will watch it if Millie Bobby Brown's in it, and Julian Dennison, and that other guy. I don't know, I understood why they were in there, but I don't care. You can skip over those scenes. They're the kind of scenes you could look at your phone during, which is good. But Godzilla and Kong slapping each other's asses, love that shit. Next up, which was my favourite for a fucking long time throughout the year, and I seriously sometimes still think it is, but it isn't because my favourite one is so fucking good. Malignant. Yeah, I had to pirate this thing. I've technically watched it twice. I missed, like, my brother watched it with his friends. This is the second time I went to watch it. So I basically skipped the whole first half of the movie and came in the second half of the movie just before the reveal, because I watched like an hour-long film on the Criterion Channel for some fucking reason. It was like The Raven. Yeah, it was fine. Maybe it was that or The Pit and the Pendulum. I think it was The Raven. Yeah, it was The Raven. So it was just fucking great. I like, even the second half of the film, the first half of the film I love. It's like, I mean, I started watching a lot of James Wan films this year, so it was the perfect fucking time for it. Like watching the Conjuring films. I have all of them now, including the Annabelle ones and shit, and I haven't even watched those yet. I don't want to, but I have them. So, including the fucking Nun, I don't have the Curse of La Llorona, but let's ignore that one. Most people do anyway. But yeah, so Malignant, I fucking love it. It's such a good movie, and I have the Steelbook and the Blu-ray to compare, to companion me in my journey of life. So yeah, Jesus Christ. Okay, I'm gonna mute this because I've got people. Suddenly, everyone wants to message me past midnight. What the fuck is this? It's Sunday night. Anyway, number 4. This one's tricky, and I really want to rewatch it. The Matrix Resurrections. I rewatched The Matrix in theater last year. We watched it, me and my girlfriend. She'd never seen it before, so the week before Christmas, they had it at the Astor, 35mm. Beautiful. So fucking beautiful of a movie. And on the big screen, oh, but they played the trailer for Resurrections before the movie. And I'd already seen the trailer when it came out. I didn't care for it. But rewatching that shit in the big screen, I was like, fuck yeah, I'm keen as hell now. And it was... I really like the movie. It's got a lot of those big exposition dumps that, you know, the sequels had. And I don't mind. I like the sequels, personally. I feel like this is on par, but just a bit better than the sequels. But I love the metatext stuff about it. I love how it's clearly like Lana was forced to make this movie, but she's like, fuck it, if you guys are gonna make a fucking Matrix movie, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it good enough. But it's also like an interesting criticism on sequels and reboots. It's like the polar opposite to Spider-Man, because it's actually, you know, good. And, you know, sure, the action's not as fluid as the originals, and there's all this kind of tiresome nature to it, but at the same time, I kind of dig it, I'll be honest. And I fucking love the last, like, 45 minutes of the film. I know it just becomes like a spoilers if you give a shit, but it basically becomes a we gotta save Trinity movie, and I'm like, I'm down for that. It's cool. The rest of the movie is fucking life sucks, so it's good shit. Number 3, and this one I'm very jumpy about. I've given it 3 stars currently. Only watched it once, missed it in theaters, watched the 4K. Old. 3.5 stars. Probably 4 stars, because, you know, the more you think about it, it's about a beach that makes you old. But, like, there's a scene in it where a guy has a knife, and it's a particular type of knife. And he gets stabbed with this knife. and the effect that it has on him is so insane to me. I'm like, how the fuck is this in a movie? I love it. It's my equivalent to Malignant of just being flat out fucking bonkers. And it's so beautifully directed, and the way he's filmed it is insane. I really want to rewatch it. It's such a fucking good film and so underrated. Like most M. Night Shyamalan films post, like, The Visit. So, and I've, again, even this year, been doing a Shyamalan binge where I've watched a lot of his films that I'd never seen before. So I'm like, contextually getting myself there. I just didn't watch the bad shit like Avatar or that Will Smith one or The Lady in the Water. So I watched the ones I could basically get my hands on Disney Plus or my Blu-rays. So yeah. Number 2, 4.5-star film, which I had watched the original on Stan, of all places. I hoped to watch it on Criterion Channel. It wasn't there anymore. So probably better that I didn't, because I didn't have to plug it into my laptop, and I could watch it kind of in a full screen glory, in its Technicolor glory. We're talking about West Side Story. I watched the original like a week and a half before I watched the remake, and the remake fucking slaps. It's definitely, in my opinion, a step up to the original, technically, acting-wise, singing-wise, except for Ansel. Everything about it is perfect except for Ansel. He's just not a good singer. He's so out of place in this movie. I'm not convinced that he was in a gang, that he almost killed someone. It doesn't convince me. He's a baby. It doesn't work. Anyway, he's also not a great singer, but that's okay. The girl who's the I gotta say who she is, because if I don't, I'm gonna be so angry at myself. Rachel Zegler, fucking beautiful, absolutely tremendous actress. I'm so keen for whatever the fuck she does next, because this is like her debut film, and it's tremendous. She has so much fucking talent, and Spielberg directed the fuck out of this movie, and I love the original. Like, I've only seen it once, last year in December, and I loved it. I loved the technicolor craft of it, the romantic element to it, like how they fall in love in a day, the obvious Romeo and Juliet stuff. I actually really liked in that movie. I didn't care for it that much in this movie, but this movie had everything else going for it, whereas the other movie had the technicolor and the dancing and the songs, and I liked the romance, because that whole entire film is meant to be this kind of fantasy thing. I mean, the Technicolor transition that Maria has when she twirls, I think it's she's twirling from I Feel Pretty, but I'm pretty sure it's not. She does a twirl, and like you got all these fucking Technicolor blobs coming off of her, which is like, I say blobs, but it's like refractions and shit. And then she just becomes a part of the room, and she's in the dance hallway suddenly, and it's so fucking magical. Obviously, in the remake, it's very straightforward, which is fine. The realistic take is probably my least favorite thing outside of Ansel Elgort and the romance, but at the same time, they at least try to develop the characters and add some stuff to it, and everyone else is really fucking good. So, this was my top film, until number 1, of course, with 5 stars, Licorice Pizza. Fucking good. Oh, I knew, like, a lot of people were saying that this was the best film of the year. It didn't come out till like the last week of the year for us, so I had already rewatched. In the last week of the year, from Boxing Day till the end of the year, I watched West Side Story. I watched The Matrix Resurrections. I watched West Side Story again that same fucking night, and then like 2 days later on Thursday night, I watched Licorice Pizza. And Licorice Pizza is probably now my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson. I don't know. I really fucking like Phantom Thread, and I've grown to love that movie after just 3 watches. I think I watched it once in theater, once on Blu-ray, and then a second time I watched it with my grandparents. I don't know why. I don't know if it was on Blu-ray, or I was staying at their place for like a couple of days. This was a few years back, and it was just like, I think it was just on like TV, and we just put it on. It was maybe a streaming, and probably on Netflix or something, and it was just fucking good movie. But Licorice Pizza, damn son, I see why people love it so much. It's so fucking good. Wholeheartedly worth watching all of these films that are in my top 15, 16. So yeah, 2021 was a really fucking bad year. But it made up for it in the end with some great films. and the fact that I am now unemployed. So yeah, not too bad at all. So yeah, what do you think of my top tens? My movies of 2021 list. I know it's only 35 films. I don't even know how many I got done in 2021. Obviously, 2021 is a much trickier year, and I think that's pretty much why I never made a list for it. I watched 15 movies in 2021. Yeah. Sorry, in 2020. I will add as an honorable mention because I hadn't watched it, and it technically came out this year. In 2021. It's technically a 2020 film though. The Empty Man. We didn't get to watch it till the DVD came out in 2021 in Australia, and then it came to like Netflix, Disney Plus on HD for like a few months later. So it's on Disney Plus. I wholeheartedly recommend watching it. Probably one of the best horror films I've seen in a long fucking time. And I've watched and I watched Malignant and Old. I mean, the Old's kind of a horror film. It's more of a drama, but Malignant's a fucking good horror film. But it's more of a, I don't know. It's an action horror, so it's different again. But The Empty Man's a fucking balls out trippy ass movie. Wholeheartedly worth watching. But yeah, so I don't know. Hopefully, 2022 is different. Currently, it is shit, but at the same time, we're in January, so there's a lot of January movies that are going to be either January movies for 2022 or movies that came out at the end of, like, in the last 3 to 6 months of 2021 that Australia didn't get or that I haven't been able to see. Again, like Wes Anderson's new film and all that kind of shit. So, ideally, I will watch them eventually. I probably will watch The French Dispatch on Blu-ray because, let's be honest, I don't think I'm going to be able to get to the cinemas anytime soon. It's concerning. It sucks. But yeah, being thorough about these kind of lists is not easy these days. So 35 films is pretty good for a year, though. I sure, a few of them were streamed casually too. Like the Jungle Cruise was just me and my mates on a group chat, and we're just watching the film. Because it was there. It was like there for free, and I'm like, fuck it, why not? Free Guy, I only watched it because I knew my brothers were gonna watch it, and they were gonna be like, "Oh, this movie's so good." I'm like, look, if I beat them to it, at least I know for certain if it's bad or good, and it was fucking atrocious. So, yeah. Anyway, what were your favorite and least favorite movies of 2021? Why am I wrong? I don't care, but I do care about what your films are. I like hearing what other people's films are, and so many people are going to say fucking Spider-Man. That's going to do my head in. That's alright if you like Spider-Man. It's cool. It's just a Marvel movie. It's fine. It's not art. It's not Licorice Pizza. But you know, it is what it is. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I probably won't do a 2022 best films video, but you never know. I didn't do a 2020 video, but that wasn't really a competition, was it? So, anyway. Ciao for now.